It's going to fall for Ibrahimovic. Oh, come on! David Beckham. Oh, goodness me! Yes, can he do it? Yes, he can! Robbie Keane continues to captivate. Back from the depth. LA Galaxy level things up. It is over. The Los Angeles Galaxy have won their 6th MLS Cup.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Clash of Cosmos. Of course, right as we start recording, my camera freezes because that's usually how that works. I don't get the luxury of that not happening. Mila and Dari are here today, but we have a special guest. Brooks from We Are Soccer is here. Brooks, I just want you to come in, kind of give us a little intro about yourself, what you guys do, and then we'll just flow into the episode.
Yeah. So We Are Soccer, my buddy Craig Hearn started it. It started with there's a place called Woodward Sports, which covers all Detroit sports around here. Craig went to them. He knew someone and was like, hey, do you want to do a soccer show? And started there. And, Craig spun it off and hey, let's just do this on our own. It got to be a little too much. And we've just kind of done this on their own. We have a nice little studio in a soccer facility here in the suburbs of Detroit here. And, we talk soccer. So Craig loves the EPL, Nate loves Bundesliga. Danny is a Man United fan and loves the EPL. So we do a Sunday night show. We'll do a Wednesday sometimes. We'll interview guests and, we'll cover the college game and kind of all different stuff. So that's us at We Are Soccer. Then myself, I've been scouting professional soccer scout since 2015. I worked with the Portland Timbers for probably 7-8 years. And then my buddies formed the soccer syndicate, Scott Resendez and Matt Martin. So I've been doing college, youth, and lower division pro scouting since pretty much 2015. Youth scout in the last 5 or 6 years, but pretty familiar with the domestic game and always watching USL, MLS. And I try to get the European soccer in there when I can.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is a perfect podcast for you to come on, and we're very LA Galaxy based, as you know, and that's what we talk about, but we're at the mid-season here. I think it's time for us to kind of look outside of our really awful trauma circle that we started, because honestly that's what it's felt like. So we aren't going to touch on the Galaxy's last game. We'll touch on that next week. Well, it'll get angry again. That's usually where the podcast has been heading, but we'll talk Club World Cup in this one, our first impressions of the MLS clubs in that and how well they've done, and then we'll go through our halfway checkpoint where we'll talk about the biggest storylines, who we think has done well in the league, and who's done bad, the Galaxy. And then we'll finish off the episode with kind of your opinions on what you think the Galaxy should do moving forward, because I think as an organization and as a whole, they're probably the biggest question mark in the league in that sense. So let's jump into it. I don't know if you guys watched Inter Miami last night, but they're the first MLS club to get a win in the Club World Cup, which is, I think out of all the teams, they probably had the best shot looking at their group, but it's still a huge feat for the league and for Inter Miami as a whole.
I expected them to beat that Egyptian team over Porto.
Yeah.
That was the reverse.
Wasn't expecting the Porto loss to them for sure.
I did watch the game, and it was pretty interesting. I thought Messi kind of stunk up the place until he scored that free kick, which is kind of typical of him as late. So I don't know. It was a weird game. It was almost like it felt inevitable that Porto was going to come back, and they just didn't. They were pressing. Miami was defending really well. I don't know who this keeper is that they have. It's their third keeper or something, or some guy they signed just for this tournament. He's been on his head. He played insane. So it was a really interesting watch.
Yeah, the 39-year-old goalkeeper for Inter Miami.
Yeah.
He's been since Drake Callender has been hurt. Actually, he's been playing this season. Yeah, but no, he's been fantastic. He made that PK save, which is huge to get the draw and experience, right? I mean, Inter Miami. I mean, Busquets, Alba, Messi, and they played against these big clubs and they played in these tournaments where you got to win and you can't make mistakes. And you look at the other two sides, LAFC and Seattle, they put up fights, but it's the little things, right? Little things make the difference. The free kick here and there, defending, but credit to Miami.
That's the whole difference too. Is you have Messi on the field, he could just pull something out of his ass like that.
Well, yeah, obviously that, and I think just the competition in their group is a little lighter than some of the other ones. LAFC, I want to say they should win today, but I do not know a lot about their upcoming opponent. And then Sounders, that group.
Yeah, it's the group.
Wasn't expecting much out of them before, but with Botafogo taking the top of that table so early, like
spicy.
It's not good for them, but they've been putting up decent performances against top competition.
Yep. Seattle is a interesting club for sure.
They definitely showed some fight in that Atletico game. I don't know if you guys watched.
I did.
They looked terrible.
They're also the first club that came out and was like, this is wrong from a player standpoint. So that just coming into the tournament, just a very interesting thing, because they're also the only team that's really hosted they're going to host all their games.
Lumen,
or they hosted the first two.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got this weird back and forth. Seattle's already kind of in a weird spot already. They're just a weird club. They've been a weird club. And then now you've got this just two of the biggest teams coming to their front door. Like, I don't know. I feel bad for them. They're the worst of the three teams in terms of, I think, talent and overall just cohesion. I think LAFC, if anything, if LAFC was in this group, I'd feel a lot better about them. I think that they're the most well-rounded. I think that they've got kind of more individual talent across the board. Whereas like Miami, we're talking just stars.
Yes.
And then, but they've done well defensively. If they've only conceded 1 goal in 2 games, like all the question marks that I've had about them coming into the tournament has kind of been turned off because they've done well defensively, and then they've just let Messi do what Messi does. And I don't really know. I don't know.
As an Inter Miami hater, it's interesting to watch. I'm kind of in like purgatory because I don't like them, but I want MLS teams to do well. So I'm like,
Yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling about LAFC, because I don't want them to do well.
I want them to
biggest rival.
No, they can lose every game. It's
I don't care at all. I want them
I don't know, the idea that like Mark Delgado was playing against Cole Palmer. You know what I mean? Like that's such a weird idea in my mind, and I can't get really past the idea of it. But I want him to do well.
Think that Inter Miami do have, like Brooks was saying, they have that experience, and just those players, even though they're old, they were in a different class compared to some of the guys they're playing now. They're just 10 years older.
Yeah. We don't even have Alba right now.
I know, but Busquets, even at his age, is still a joy to watch. Just flows through the pitch. As long as he can stay on the pitch and not get outpaced, basically, then he's still a big factor. So I think that's going to be huge in this tournament for them, especially if they make it through to the knockouts. Little more pressure added to it. I'm not really sure how the logistics work for MLS payout with this tournament. It's different, right?
Yes. So the league will take some of it, and then the club will get some of it, since obviously it's a you know how MLS structure works. So they don't get to keep everything.
So like hypothetically, if an MLS team were to win the whole thing and get that 100 mil, MLS is taking
some
percentage of that. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yep. But even if you advance far enough, to be honest with you, for any club, any three of them, like, I mean, Inter Miami is probably the one that's going to advance the furthest. Like, I don't, like something crazy has to happen where Seattle has to just somehow come and beat the UEFA Champions League squad PSG, like, by like 6-0 or something. Like something crazy has to happen.
And win.
Yeah. LAFC are obviously still in it because they don't play. I think until the 24th. They said. I think they play, or is it today? They play. They haven't played their second game.
They play today.
Today. So I mean, MLS. If we get far enough, and that's a lot of money for those clubs. That's towards your new academy to pay your academy coaches or scouts, or to invest in more for your training facility, to make updates to your stadium. Like. That's money that you wouldn't have gotten from some other place. You know what I mean? So the further you go, the more you get, the more you can invest in. And obviously the players want a little bit more, as you said, with the Seattle Sounders players. So be nice if, MLS lets them have a little more, because they deserve it for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely, they deserve it.
Mhm.
I don't know. This has just been a weird tournament. We have 2 podcasts where we've had to talk about it on 2 different sides of the world. Like Mila's City, and our other co-host is a Chelsea fan, and it's like this is like a preseason tournament. Like who even cares? And then on the other side, we have this MLS cap where we're like, this is like the biggest fucking tournament any of these teams are gonna play in. It's been exciting. I've actually really enjoyed the play.
Mhm.
Overall, obviously the stands and stuff. It's more of a federation and a FIFA thing.
Correct.
And obviously, funny enough, the most corrupt team in terms of actually getting into the tournament for the MLS has probably got the best shot of making it the furthest at this point.
Yep.
But it's been cool. I've enjoyed it. I don't know if you guys as a whole have enjoyed the tournament so far, but I'm a fan.
I think it's been interesting. I think it could be a great tournament if they fix the qualification standards. Those really don't make any sense to me at all. But I think it's been pretty interesting to watch. It's funny to see some of the bigger teams have low attendances, and then a game like Palmeiras versus I don't even remember who they played, but it looks pretty packed. And I saw clips. There was a ton of away fans for that team City played. I can't even remember what they're called.
Yeah, why Dad Casablanca?
Yeah.
There was a lot of red jerseys in the stadium.
They would look like
There was a lot of blue jerseys. There's like for a noon game in
that game
Florida,
looked pretty packed.
like a lot of people were at that game.
I was pretty surprised to see that one packed out, but yeah, it's been pretty interesting to watch. Just overall, to see how they're kind of updating the stadiums because I mean that's what we're going to see in the World Cup.
Yeah.
It's turf, not turf, but the grass looks pretty good
Mhm.
on all these stadiums.
I've heard a little bit of complaints from some of the players on the grass on multiple games.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because they're just layering it on. I think they're layering it on top, right?
Some of them look a little bit cakey, but for the most part, they look decent. I mean, it doesn't show in the play that it's slow pitch.
So we actually, so being in Michigan and being a Michigan State alum, our turf and grass school is actually heavily working with FIFA for the Club World Cup and the World Cup, and there's a couple other universities. We did a cool interview with the guy heading up the stuff. There's actually a very unique process of like laying it down and what's going underneath it and everything, and it's a constant process of what's the environment if it's being laid on turf, so it's rather interesting. It's an ongoing change of like, what's the best thing to do? How much do we water it before a game, during, when do we lay it down? So it's actually a very interesting process. That's on our YouTube page. I can share that with you guys, but it's a good one. How everything works and whatnot. So
okay, interesting. We can definitely link that too.
Yeah, I was gonna say for the fine details of what this tournament brings. Obviously, this is like the best test run that the U.S. could have gotten for a World Cup by having some of the biggest teams in the world playing high level intensity matches on top of the turf. Obviously, it's really weird seeing MetLife with turf. This is the first time I think I've ever seen it with actual grass.
With grass, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, turf. Everybody calls turf something different. Not AstroTurf, but turf.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like I've never seen turf on MetLife. I just am so used to the ACL graveyard that MetLife is, and I'm not used to it being this nice green colored real grass. So it's cool. It's cool. That's everything from the standpoint of it not being a FIFA thing has been great. It's just FIFA and their corrupt ways. Obviously,
I'm hoping they can learn from their mistakes in organization and planning and get it right for the World Cup. And then not only that, but I've heard that we might also get the 2029 Club World Cup. So if we do get that, then
interesting.
Hopefully they can.
The thing about the Club World wasn't it in like Dubai for like multiple?
It was, yeah.
And so I mean, I feel like that's kind of something we've seen from FIFA is like they find
they're terrible scheduling.
We'll throw it there for a little while.
But they want people to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
They want ratings. But at the end of the day, like if you're going to have it in these countries where you're trying to grow the sport, it needs to be people need to get their butts in the seats, see that and have the atmosphere experience. Like watching it on TV on DAZN is great that we can do that for free, but it's not the same.
Agreed. Do you guys think that the one thing I've been happy about is like watching the Atletico game, watching Chelsea LAFC. I've been happy that these clubs at least have brought them. I mean, because they want to win it. Because if you're a European club and you win that whole 100 million or more, that's a nice new player you can buy for your squad or put into something. Have you guys been happy with the talent they've brought? I mean, I have. I mean, it's cool to see Seattle, Christian Roldan going against Conor Gallagher and making tackles in the field yesterday, and then Denny Bouanga going up against and Giroud going against old teammates and whatnot. And I know Nato just kind of fried Hollingshead on that one goal.
That was awesome.
Yeah, he's old, former UCLA guy, and he's done a job in his career. But
he's a great player. But
yeah.
I mean, that's why I don't like him.
Are you guys happy that the European clubs have brought some decent talent over and to go against and see where we stack up against these guys?
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's great. I know most of our teams brought over just the best that they can. Like you said, they want to win that prize money.
Yep.
And I haven't seen much talk outside of Chelsea's manager about going against the rules and heavily rotating the squad.
Yeah.
He's the only one that's come out and said, I might rotate it, whether you like it or not. So it seems like most coaches are sticking to the plan for the tournament and having the best players play, which again, back to what we were saying, that atmosphere, that experience, this is so different. I don't know. I'm sure you've been to some of the Guinness Cup games back in the day. Those were cool. You get to see a team like City play Real Madrid, but it's the second team, third team players, reserve players that are playing. Maybe you'll get 15 minutes of the world-class guys. This is the opposite of that, which I think is the main draw. But as long as we can keep having a tournament like this where we get to see the best of the best in our backyard, I don't think we can ask for much more other than pricing and timing to be better.
Yeah.
For me, it's the doubt of can an MLS team compete? Listen, Atletico Madrid is terrific. Diego Simeone is one of the best coaches in the world. But for me, it's awesome to see that. Listen, Seattle lost 3-1, but they didn't stop fighting. And you saw they could combine and play around Atletico Madrid, and LAFC needed some stuff in the final third to do well, but they could. Chelsea had the ball a lot, but at least there was a competitive edge to it. People get this sense they're always talking well, where does the best MLS team fit in the EPL or EFL Championship or La Liga or whatever? And you don't know until these two sides play each other. You know what I'm saying? So now you have some vision. You've got to see what the difference is. And most of these guys only usually get to compete on the international level, to be honest with you, against each other. So this is what the interesting thing for me, what the Club World Cup brings. And I know everyone poo-poos it, and maybe we can, as the years go on, we can make it better. But that's the interesting part is listen, Seattle may lose every game, but if they walk out against PSG and only lose 2-0, that's a win for me. And if they had the ball and they had scoring chances, awesome. That makes me happy as an MLS supporter,
Yeah, no, this is a great benchmarking tool for the league in terms of figuring out where exactly do we stack up in terms of everyone talks about the top 5 leagues. I mean, if you can compete at the level of top 5, there will be a dynamic shift between Europe and this part of the world. It's just bound to happen. The question is just how quickly.
Yep.
LAFC, for example, playing that Chelsea game, they had chances. The game very easily could have ended 1-1, 2-2. They didn't put away their chances, but they're the 6th best team in the West right now. That's not even Vancouver we're talking about. It's not the best. It's not the best team so far this year. It wasn't the best team last year, but they're competing with a squad that's worth $1 billion on paper, who played their starting 11 from all of last year. I get it. It's a cup. They might be in Cabo mentally, but they're still a class above in what everyone's mind is.
Correct.
Right. So to know that the teams in the US can compete at that level is a huge, huge stepping stone. I think that if you had asked me 5 years ago, I would probably tell you to shut up. I just assume that we'd be way off the pace, but that's not where we're at now. I mean, I think that the MLS has just a exponential chance to blow up within the next 10 years. I think it's the market, it's the league that has the most parity and weirdly enough, it being closed off could potentially be the reason why it does so well.
Yep.
But I think they're looking at a catapult type of launch here if Miami does well. If Miami gets past that first round, I think there's going to be a lot of talking points.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
Yep.
Cool. You guys over talking about FIFA and the Co-Pros Club? Because I am.
I think we hit
I
on
think it's funny how speed is involved. They keep involving speed in everything. I'm like, what are we doing?
What are you talking
We
about?
need him
I
to-
know, but it's just funny the lengths that FIFA is going to like get Americans into the game. They're like,
I mean, yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's for Americans and also just for some younger generation that don't even watch the game. Like, he's a great way to just get
it makes
casual
sense.
eye.
It's just funny
Yeah.
to see
It is. It's hilarious.
fucking what's his face on speed stream.
I mean, often to finish this up, like, I mean, when I'm out scouting and I'm watching youth soccer, it's kind of shocking how, I mean, listen, I was born in 91. I'm 34, you know, so like my parents were doing soccer, like, you know, it was around, but like they didn't play a whole lot. But like I'm around some of these parents and they're still like brand new to this thing, you know, so it's not even, I don't think soccer's even reached the full capacity in this country that, you know, outsiders, you know, that love the game may think it's reached. Like, I think we still have, like Dylan said, we still have levels to go and there's a possibility to get to something. And, you know, Craig's interviewed Alexi Lawless and Lawless has said, listen, like, you know, this World Cup in 2026 is huge. That could be the catapult into everyone, you know, maybe football players. You see like Alex Freeman, Antonio Freeman's son playing soccer. Like, I mean, that could be the catapult of kids switching sports and, you know, deciding, hey, let's play soccer, you know? So this has a lot of room to grow, but, you know, like you said, if Inter Miami does well, if, you know, the U.S. men's national team does well, like, you know, this sport, it can grow so much exponentially in this country. And, you know, then we'll have people showing up, you know, not have full stadiums for this event. They'll be coming out and they'll understand everything. And, you know, you'll see all the leagues grow, USL to MLS, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Money talks in this country, and it can talk a little bit more than I think the other countries that have the available funds. It's just the way that all of the sports in the US work. I think you can see, I mean, it's not like the Lakers didn't just sell for 10 billion at
Yeah.
at 50%. That wasn't even like, geez,
Have you seen the
evaluations.
the valuations for some of the MLS clubs?
Crazy.
Yeah.
They're one of the richest clubs in the world.
Correct.
I think 7 of them.
In
Yeah.
Forbes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amongst all
Ridiculous.
teams. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Up there with the best of the best that have been around for a long time.
Yes.
And some of these new teams are just bringing in cash money. The cash flow is ridiculous.
And the league handicaps you so you can only spend about 30 million a year.
That's a suck. Wow.
Investment league.
Oh yeah. I guess I'll end it with, I need to see, once Mbappe's out of the hospital, I need to see him race speed, I think. That's what I need to see. I need to see who's the fastest between the two. All right, let's get into our MLS halfway checkpoint. I'm going to throw up the West first. Let's start with the West. The standings are hiding our favorite club. Thank God.
Where are we?
Yeah, I have it kind of segmented. I sent over the notes, but essentially it's our biggest surprise in a good way, our biggest letdown. Our club is obviously in there. We'll talk about them at some point, but outside of them, and then our biggest question mark going into the summer is kind of the next question, and then who's got the best shot of winning it between the East and the West, one team from each, and we can kind of just go from there. But let's start with the biggest surprise. Brooks, you want to go first with who you thought has been the biggest surprise?
I have so many. I listed 4 clubs. I was a little shocked about, to be honest with you. So let's start with the Union in the Eastern Conference.
Yep.
I'll go both conferences I have teams from. I did not expect Philly. Just like it was a big change. Jim Curtin had been there for years. Bradley Carnell had not finished well at St. Louis City. What are you going to come into a club that expects to play the young players? You know, they sold Gazdak, you know, they gave him away to Columbus. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a big transition. You got to find a way to play Quinn Sullivan now, you know, some of your veterans are getting old. They're on their last leg there, you know. So I did not expect them to be in first place at this point. They were actually we do our own predictions here at We Are Soccer. They were the ones that I picked, honestly, to potentially be the wooden spoon to finish dead last in the league. I just thought the transition would have been too much for them, but man, they proved me wrong, and that's okay. That's okay. You can prove me wrong. That's fine. Vancouver Whitecaps for the Western Conference, no doubt. Man, they're playing like they're a fun team to watch. I love what that coach is doing there in Vancouver. San Diego FC, an expansion team. I mean, they had some good players. I just didn't expect them to be in the top 5, honestly. You know, I mean, top 3. We're looking at the table right now. So, and then my Portland Timbers, like, you know, they start off so slow every year, and it's, you know, you never know what you're gonna get with Phil Neville. But I mean, credit to him, man. He's done exceptionally well. And it's great to see them having a good first start, and let's see if they can maintain it.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on all of the ones that I wanted to talk about.
Especially with the
yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead, Mila. Yeah, Portland.
With Philly, I was talking to Dylan earlier, but they have the top goal scorer in the league and like the 3rd best defense.
Yeah,
statistically.
Yep,
that's ridiculous. And I think a lot of the teams that have caught my eye this season have been the defensively strong teams, conceding a little under like 20, 21 goals right now.
Mm-hmm.
And usually at the top of their conference is super impressive. I don't get to watch them individually that much, but yeah, the defense has been great. Looking at the Whitecaps, plus minus 31-14, 14 goals conceded in 17 games.
In MLS.
They need a pat on the back for sure. That's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
I put in our notes that Vancouver's front 3 reminds me so much of the Galaxy front 3 from last year.
Yeah.
Where it's just like these ridiculously pacey wingers with super dynamic traits, and then you've just got a ruthless goal scorer.
Yeah. Brian White's good. He was a good player at Duke.
He's money.
Yeah, he's money. I mean, Red Bull, he was in the Red Bull system. He's actually a Philly kid, to be honest with you. He's a Philly kid that went to go play for Red Bull Academy, and he was a goal scorer at Duke. And I never got to watch him live, but a couple of my buddies did in the ACC. And, you know, I'm happy an American is doing well and is up there on the goal scorer for MLS, because it's like international, and then like you get to like somewhere in the top 10, there's an American. But it's nice to see an American in there, you know, like a pure American scoring goals, you know, because it's so dominated by the national talent. MLS, so.
The pure American playing in Canada, the Lion. He's really good. I think Tom Bogert calls him the New Jersey Mario Gomez. I think that's what he is. I've never had a nickname where I've been like, wow, that's super fitting. But it is. Like, he just bags. Like, he's pretty good technically, but he's just a bagsman at heart. And that's so cool to see, like you said, an American doing that in a league that's going away from American talent like that. So
especially in the striker and goal scoring position, where you know most teams in the front 3 are going to pay money to buy a center forward and you know, wingers. You know, that's the best part of it.
Yeah, obviously, I'm from.
Sorry to cut you
got to
off.
Oh,
bounce.
I'll go for it.
Yeah.
All righty, Dari.
See you later.
Thanks.
Deuces.
Peace.
Yeah. So, no Dari. Thank God. I guess sucks anyways. I guess I'll talk about San Diego. I'm from San Diego. That's where I reside. So I've had the pleasure of seeing this team kind of explode, is what I'll say. This is the one team that I wanted to talk to you specifically, Brooks, about the academy aspect of it.
Sure.
Because I think going into it, I was probably a little confused in terms of like the cohesion aspect. I was concerned that they would have, like all new teams coming in, like you're adding this, you know, 13, 15 new players, and then you're just going for it. SDFC did a lot of late business too, like Chucky was late business, and but at its core, it's the first club that I can really think that has an outside academy and has focused heavily on doing that, as well as like, because they're so close to the border here, they're able to go into Tijuana and focus on, you know, Mexican talent as well as the U.S. talent. Obviously, you're more experienced and more knowledgeable on that type of academy growth and what the Right to Dream Academy does for them.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that and that impact on where they're at currently?
Yeah, like, I mean, it was nice that San Diego just didn't jump in and go like, let's do 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, like they're like, let's slowly build this out. The Right to Dream connection's huge, you can grab some guys, and just San Diego in general. Like, I mean, you get a lot of kids. I mean, I think Diego Rocchio is from San Diego, if I'm not mistaken. He was at the Philly Union Academy, and RSL just signed him. I mean, there's a bunch of kids you can name in the San Diego area that, bounce if they can't get to LA Galaxy or LAFC, and they go somewhere else, and they're good players. It's always developed really good talent in San Diego. San Diego Surf are a great club, a great youth club. I'm happy with the way they did it, that they're going to take it year by year. And I think that's the right way to do it, to evaluate. And, let's see who can we bring in, whether it's, some of the Mexican Americans, maybe on the other side of the border, that can come in and make a difference in the San Diego area. You shouldn't have to leave that area, in my opinion. That's the beauty of California, and honestly, a lot of the clubs, even Sac Republic, the USL side, San Jose, LA Galaxy, LAFC, San Diego FC, is like the territory you have within that 30 or so miles that you get, and even a little out in the neutral territory. Like, there's so much depth. There's so much depth in California. California clubs are the youth clubs are the ones I love watching. If I go to like an MLS Next event, like I've been MLS Next Flex the last few years. I like Irvine Strikers are a great club. I mean, they had lost like 7 or 8 players the year before. Then I watched them again the next year, and like ECNL players bump up, and there's no difference. Like that's a great club right there. Just filled with talent in pockets, and that's why a lot of clubs, MLS academies across the country, head into specifically Northern California, and that pocket between San Jose and San Francisco and Sacramento, like they love picking off players there and bringing them in there. RSL does, and a bunch of other clubs. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You brought up Irvine Strikers. That's like our hometown. That's where we know that club better than
my brother played for the MLS Next team.
Yeah, Owen Pratt played there before he went to Galaxy.
Owen
nice.
Pratt, Bobby Wood, right?
Yes,
Who was
Bobby,
an Irvine Strikers alum. I mean,
your
expertise on that particular matter is so interesting, because obviously, like, I think there's a misconception between what the youth system currently is and what it can be. And like you said, like, I think everyone just looks at the social media aspect of stuff in terms of like MLS Next Pro, and like everyone's aiming to be at that level. I think it doesn't need to go that far. Like a team like Strikers, who isn't talked about as much on social media, is probably one of the best in the nation. And they do it consistently year over year.
Yes.
So it's cool.
Yeah, it's, for me, like, good clubs that are non-MLS academies, you build your B and C teams, you have the methodology built up. So when you're going to lose those kids, I mean, I think that one year it was Scordovo's class. It was like Scordovo and like 7 or 8 other guys. Like there's like 3 of them that went to Galaxy. I think LAFC took a few. And like when you just fill it right in, and looks like nothing's lost, and you're competing and doing well against your MLS academies in your area and in national tournaments, like that's huge. You know what I mean? Like that's just, it's great to see, and that's why like California's has so much depth. Like you can go pull, I mean, even ECNL sides. I mean, in the Midwest, ECNL is not really deep, but when you get out to the coast and you get out to Pacific Northwest, Texas, Florida, like there's some really good sides there, to be honest with you, like that can compete against some MLS Next sides, So it's the beauty of where you guys live in California.
I was going to say, when you can play year round and it's not really an issue.
Yeah.
Changes the complexity a little bit.
100%.
I did want to finish on Portland, because I thought that they've been a very interesting side all year. I mean, there were big question marks coming into this season about Neville, and like tactically, was he good enough? Like, was he the next to get canned? Like, there were a ton of question marks. They lost their best player, and an MVP candidate, and then they haven't had their second DP all season. He's been hurt. So now it's just DaCosta, Anthony, and I'm blanking on the third winger's name, but they've totally changed tactically, which I've been super impressed by. They went from being that 3-back system to a 4-back system, which is so funny because we talked about that in our preview to the game. Was like, oh, they've been playing this 3-back system. We got them. So we got this. And then they've been really good ever since. It's so interesting for a team like Portland to be good is so good for the league because they're the closest thing that we have to a European club in terms of fan support and just general atmosphere. They've been run really well for a long time.
Yes.
And that DaCosta signing is one of those ones that sticks out to me is like
Huge.
You picked out one of the best talents in Europe that just didn't really pan out.
Yep.
But here he's just like a next level. Like he's such a dynamic, game-changing player that every time he plays, I'm like, ah, fuck. Like we're screwed. We're screwed. Like he's going to destroy us. And I think in the game against us he did, but it's a week in, week out. Like even if he's not providing GA, he totally changes the complexity of every match. It's like it's so funny. This is going to be a really weird callback, but in Mario's Super Strikers, you know, when Bowser just jumps in, it totally tilts the fucking screen. That's essentially what DaCosta does for Portland. And I have a soft spot for him. I know I'm not supposed to, but I do.
I mean, I've been to a few games preseason, not normal season, but even for preseason when they would host that tournament back in the day, like they'd invite a couple MLS clubs in, maybe a USL club. I mean, draw fans, you know, like Soccer City, Rose City, you know what I mean? I mean, Seattle does a great job. I mean, the World Cup games they've drawn really well, and Seattle has great support, to be honest with you. The Pacific Northwest besides Vancouver's kind of they show up and then sometimes they don't at BC Place. And I know they're trying to fix it with building a new stadium, and I hope they do. I hope they build a new stadium and, you know, they're not renting BC Place and playing, but you know, Portland does a great job, a phenomenal job, you know, and I think that's a club that a lot of their MLS clubs look to try to replicate. You know, Atlanta United's done a very good job. You know, obviously Inter Miami has the draw with other superstars. FC Cincy. I don't think anyone thought in Cincinnati, Ohio, you know, and I've been there, just got a lot of the colleges in the area, then driving past there to head to Lexington to watch Kentucky play. You know, it's a nice area, but whoever thought Cincinnati, Ohio, you know, but like it's important for those clubs in those areas to do well, you know?
Yeah. Smaller market teams, if they can prove that they can be a benefit to the league and can have support throughout years, even when they're bad, like like you're talking about getting the league to that next step. That's the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And we need those smaller market teams.
Yeah,
absolutely need them. It's hard to compete with us with soccer not being the top sport in the nation with these big market teams that have set people that like dedicated to their sport. The smaller market's easier to sweep up, I think.
Yep. MLS and USL both, because like the markets like Tampa, Detroit, San Antonio, Louisville, like it's awesome to see Louisville. Like they have a NWSL side and they have a USL championship side. You know, like I've never been to that stadium. I've been to the University of Louisville stadium, where the same people that built the University of Louisville soccer stadium built the Mark and the Lynn family. I mean, it's beautiful. Like it's one of the most, like, you can probably consider the University of Louisville soccer stadium like a USL League 1S stadium. Like that's how beautiful it is. And then to turn around and build what they did for Louisville City and for Racing Louisville is tremendous. And it's a great market, you know. So, you know, Indy 11 is looking to build the stadium, and we'll see what happens with MLS there and Indy 11, you know, what's going to happen with that. Because there's two conflicting sides there, with the mayor wanting to do something and then the current ownership group of Indy 11. But yeah, these small pockets, it's important, and that's where fans grow, and then you get to people, and then the sport grows even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just as a whole, just the community sense that we're trying to build in the U.S. is great. I know we just said small teams, like small market teams, but New York City FC, Dylan, Dari, and I have talked about the Etihad campus that they're building there.
Yep.
That's one. It's going to be a beautiful place. But two, it's going to support the community. It's going to do a lot just for the surrounding area. And then also it's going to be this like mecca of footy in New York City that people can go and have this full experience, not just go to see a game, but like go enjoy the whole event. and I think that's going to be great. They're adding accessible fields around the area, so it's nice that I'm a City fan and this is City Group, but it has nothing to do with it. As a soccer fan in the U.S., I want to see more teams doing this.
Yep.
We do have a lot of fields here in the U.S. We have a lot of great fields, but
Yep.
it's not super easy to get access to them.
Correct.
And if we want to keep growing, I think that grassroots thing is huge. We've talked about it before, Dylan.
Yeah.
But we got to keep doing that. We have to encourage people to play, and I think we're going in the right direction right now. I don't know if you've seen anything along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, look at what Chicago's done. They finally got a stadium in the city. I mean, in South Loop, which is a nice congested area where fans can walk from a bar to the game, and they don't have to play in Bridgeview. I mean, I've been to Bridgeview a few times. It's a drive, man. It's a drive. And Chicago's big. Like, you don't understand. Like, you have the south and north side. You're in the suburbs. You know, traffic may take you. You may be realistically 30 minutes, like with no traffic. Well, when there's traffic, it's like more than an hour. You know, so Chicago Fire getting that stadium downtown, and the renderings look great. Obviously, the renderings are never exactly what it's going to look like, but just the spot they got in South Loop is huge.
Soccer specific stadium?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
They'll do concerts
that's
and
going to
stuff
be
there.
huge.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's where Fire and the NWSL team can play, which is huge.
Awesome.
Like, to grow
Yeah,
the
it
women's
is.
game in this sport, you know?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, the sport is not at a level where you can sell out football stadiums every week.
Correct.
There's only one team I think that can do that, and that's Atlanta. They've just got a very unique market in that sense where they've built out the ability to do that. But outside of that, I don't think there's any team in the country, like even Seattle, like that.
It's hit or
they
miss.
don't even sell. You know, they don't sell the top bowl. It looks
Not
better
anymore.
on TV.
They used to. When we were kids, they used to.
Yeah.
Gillette's the worst. Like, I've heard
God.
Tim Howard and Donovan go, and I've been to one. I've been to a game at Gillette. It was Rebs and Red Bull years ago when Henry was playing for him, and Henry didn't play, but it was when Dax McCarty was playing for Red Bull, and it was like, man, like when it is empty in Gillette, and that's a side that needs to find a stadium too that's closer to Boston. And it's hard to find space in Boston, but that's a side that, like, if they find the right spot, I think they can attract the right fans and build the right, they can get people there. But it's a trek out to Foxborough. I mean, it's tough.
They must be the only, I'm going to put Boston, but New England side that doesn't do well. Like, I think every other team from Massachusetts is really that does well in sports. I mean, you got the Celtics, Bruins, Patriots, obviously. I don't think the Red Sox, and I don't think there's any team that doesn't consistently sell out games all year.
Correct.
To your point, it's like, oh, we're just chucking them in a giant stadium in the middle of. I mean, it's the weather's usually awful too.
Yeah,
it's on
hard.
turf. That's a tough place to get fan attraction. Like you said, it's in Foxborough. It's not like it's close to anything where you can get
that. And like you were saying, all those other teams are super successful. So there's a lot of competition for spectators.
Yeah. And there's no correlation. Just because the Patriots do well doesn't mean the Rebs are going to do well in the same stadium. You know what I mean?
True.
I think that's the one thing that Atlanta has the great thing about is like Mercedes, Falcons do well, and so does Atlanta. Sometimes the Seahawks and the Sounders do well, like if they're playing around the same time or whatever in the fall. But there's not a correlation. And I think it's nice to see that. I don't think Seattle will ever move to a soccer specific stadium. I think they'll always play in Lumen. But it's nice to see that Fire have gotten out of there, and now Revs are looking to do that. That's the important part, that soccer specific stadiums, like that's what's going to help us, I think grow in this country.
Agree. On the topic of Atlanta, I want to switch the conversation to the biggest letdowns. We'll talk Galaxy. It's going to happen. We're going to do a whole segment on how we're going to fix them.
We'll start from lesser letdowns and then get to the biggest one.
But, I mean, we can't be too positive on this podcast the whole time. We got to be negative. It's been it's rooted in the DNA of a Galaxy podcast to be negative.
Yeah.
So I'll start with Atlanta because I can't understand it. I cannot understand why they are as bad as they are.
Yep.
They spent the most money in a transfer window ever by an MLS side, right? With Latela and Almiron.
Yep.
And they've been awful. They were a team that took out Inter Miami last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you've got a team that like they concede goals like it's nobody's business.
Yep.
And then their two top earners have 10 GA combined.
Yep.
I don't really know. It's a big issue for them too, because like that was an all-in move to get them back to the top, and it's faltering again.
Yep.
And it kind of feels like we're going back to what they were just at with what's his name? The Argentinian kid. I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking on his name.
Almiron?
Yeah. No, it's
he
just went to Leon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm blanking on his name.
Thiago
Almada.
Almada. Yeah. I mean, this is literally the exact spot they were at. They had elite youth talent. They got rid of it, and then they brought in the big name player, which was, and then it's just a repeating cycle. It feels like Atlanta cannot get out of this kind of washer of just like.
I mean, I think, when they brought in Latte Loth, that I was excited about that.
Yeah,
I think
was too.
He's pretty good. He's great in the air, physical. Like, he just feels like he'd be perfect for the league. But just looking at his stats, he's lacking touches, and kind of just in shot attempts for strikers.
Mm-hmm.
So there's clearly either a lack of him creating his own chance or a lack of service on their end.
I think with Atlanta, what you get, lately they've been signing a lot of their homegrown players, and like obviously Caleb Wiley's gone. He's on with Chelsea on loan. He's looking to move though currently to not to be with Chelsea anymore. You have a lot of guys that you have age, but then you have young guys, and Glick is, for as good as of a player he was overseas and for Poland and for a couple years at DC United. He's up there in age, like that's a tough one. Guzan is fine. Like goalkeepers can go a little longer in age, he's still a good player, but when you got young guys like a Noah Cobb playing or and Almiron's trying to find it again with Latte La, it's rough. Atlanta was definitely my team that I had two teams for mine. I had Atlanta, and then St. Louis SC was the other one. I thought maybe, they had the pieces, they just needed the coach. And they made some trades. They got rid of some guys, and that's another one where I didn't expect them to be in the bottom three of the Western Conference.
Just underwhelming, really. I also had very high expectations for them going into the season, but they have not matched that.
They're too good offensively. Like the personnel on offense is way too good for them to be that bad.
Yes.
Like Klaus has been. He's been one of the mainstays in the league for 3 years now.
Yeah,
a consistent 10+ GA guy. Like, and then is it Hertel? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He's been really good for a number of years. Like, I just don't. And he's in his prime. He's 29. For them to only have 17 goals, it is concerning on a lot of different levels. And I don't know if there's I don't know if it's tactical or what. I don't follow enough of them on a week-to-week basis. I know that whenever they play us, they like to score a fuck ton of goals. But I think, they have 17 goals. 5 of them have come against, or 6 of them have come against the Galaxy. So if you really take out those 2 games, like
we give Klaus a hat trick.
Yeah. We did give him a hat trick.
We'll give him 3 out of his 5 goals.
I mean, you have Roman Berkey, one of the best, European goalkeepers. I mean, his time at Dortmund, he was a huge reason why they were successful, It's, just look at the starting lineup. Hybert played at, he's a Canadian that played at Missouri State. I remember watching him play, he's not bad. Is he a starting MLS center back? I'm not convinced. I think Henry Kessler's much better than him, to be honest with you. But you look at the bench, like Josh Yarrow, kind of this failed Georgetown kid that never really found a spot, was drafted by the Union, bounced around, had good years in USL Championship, like athletically good enough for sure. Ostrak was really good in the beginning, but then now he's found himself on the bench. Pompeu's really good, a kid that was at VCU, the Brazilian, like he's very creative. I'm not a big guy in Simon Betcher. I think he was actually just loaned out to a League One club. I think Union Omaha just picked him up for a loan. Akil Watts, I've never been a huge fan of. He's a good athlete. Technically, I don't think he's great, but yeah, like to have Klaus and Hartel up front. I mean, Hartel is a top Bundesliga player for a while, and Lutz, the guy that's the technical director, has the connections to the Bundesliga. So it's an interesting one for sure. Can they turn around? It's MLS, right? Like anything can happen.
Yeah, that's fair. Definitely anything can happen. It's the one league where your champion can end up being the wooden spoon leader and probably will finish in last. Like, that's crazy to think of just in itself. There's no other league where, Man City had their drop off this year and they finished in third. They didn't finish relegated.
People were talking to us about being relegated, just not for our play.
That's good.
That's
We give Danny and Nate crap for Man United. We were just Craig and I were kind of like, yeah, you're gonna get relegated. It's coming, and luckily they didn't get it, but or for them it was luck.
There's always next year though.
There is always
fucking close, dude. I'm telling you, ever since we started this podcast, I'm starting to think it's a me thing because United almost got relegated. They lost in Europe, and the Galaxy just they just didn't win a game for 17. So I was like, just sitting here like, oh, this is fucked. It's all me. This is on me. Had to be. Yeah. I honestly, everything else I think in the league though has been pretty box standard. I don't think there's anyone that's been super disappointing. I think you could argue Inter Miami's been disappointing, but I think if you understood the way that they've been doing business this summer, it wasn't unexpected they were going to drop off. They let a lot of guys go.
Yep.
They got older.
Yep.
And Messi obviously was not going to play as many games as he played last season.
Yep.
And so they sit in sixth. I mean, but in the MLS, as long as you make the playoffs, it's all that matters. And they have the best player in the league, so it gives them a shot. I think that goes into like the biggest question mark team wise. Like, I don't know where your guys' heads at with what teams got the biggest queue. Mine's Miami, but I'll hold my thoughts on them. Brooks, who's your biggest question mark at the halfway point?
So I have two. One's an obvious one, one's an interesting one. So Charlotte FC, you go out and get Zaha. I think Ajiman's overrated. My buddies, my scouting buddies on the East Coast have watched him play at Rhode Island. Big body, doesn't really have his feet underneath him. Like, can he score goals? Sure. Like, is he better than USL Championship? Yes. Can he be better? Can he develop into something? Sure. But like, you added Zaha, which I didn't think he'd come in here and score like Messi numbers, his first couple of years. But I thought, Westwood in there. I mean, it's a solid side. You know what I mean? It's not a bad side, Charlotte FC. I think they're sitting in ninth, but I expected them to be maybe a top 7, top 5 team, to be honest with you, just with how well, they finished last year. And then my other one that I have for me is the New England Revs and Caleb. Like, talk about like Arena goes to San Jose, they flip-flop players. And this is a commonality, unfortunately, with Caleb Porter. Like, he is an exceptional coach, but if you lose the locker room, things go south very quickly. And I just don't know if he has buy-in from the players. Like, that Revs team that he had was good. I mean, Bruce Arena made a run with them. They were supporters. They had the most points ever for supporter shield in the league when he had them. And then, then your guys leave and, you trade a few guys, and it's shocking. So, I don't know if they'll dig themselves out, in my opinion, and make the playoffs. I think they'll fall short, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're a test case in what the Galaxy are going through times a billion over multiple seasons. I don't know what to think about them every single year because they should be better than they are.
Yep.
They're an MLS staple. They just continually run into the same problems. Like, it feels like every year they lose the locker room, and every year it's the same guys that kind of come back. Yep. They need to hit full reset. I really like Gil. I think he's got massive prospect, and there's obviously he's their most talented player. But if you could move him, I mean, the league introducing the interleague transfers, the ability to move him for a lot of money to fund rebuilding out the squad makes so much sense to me. Mm-hmm. I bet you there would be a suitor if you asked come the transfer window in a couple weeks. Somebody would want him. Absolutely take his talent. And I think that's the way that they got to do it. Because even if they make the playoffs, like, are they really competing?
I mean, parity, right? Anyone can win. right? You catch fire at the end. It's almost like college basketball going to March
It
Madness.
is.
Like you can make that run in the tournament, and you win your tournament, then you carry the momentum into March Madness, and that's very similar to how MLS could be. I just, to me, it's you got to like the coach you're playing for, and you got to believe in what he's doing. And I just don't think the players have. Are they better this year? Yes. I think Caleb's brought in, like Maxi Rudy was a guy he had at Portland. You know, he's brought in some other guys that he's coached in the past at Columbus and whatnot. But is everyone bought in? If everyone's not bought in, I just don't think you can make the playoffs, you know?
I don't either. I mean, to put how important that is, like for the Galaxy to give Vanny a contract extension goes to the extent of how much he has the locker room.
Yeah.
To lose that many games in a row and to reward somebody says that he's got that locker room like this. Like everybody's super tight.
Yep.
And obviously their best player thinks that he's the guy. I haven't seen anybody really kind of vouch for him, which kind of that warning signs are there.
Sure.
But that's just been what New England's been, right? Like it's kind of been a carousel ride for them.
Yep.
Just going around in circles. Yeah. But I do want to talk about Inter Miami because they're always going to be the biggest question mark for the league.
Sure.
You've got Messi, you got Suarez, you got Alba and Busquets. They stockpiled a ton of money. The question mark was always Neymar. Was it going to be Neymar? Is Neymar still in the cards for them? I don't think Chicago's going to go after Neymar. So
No.
Knowing Inter Miami, I think Neymar's going to be the guy that's still on the board, but hasn't even been healthy in his stint back in Brazil. So the question becomes like, do they go commercial and they take a guy like Neymar, right? Because they've got the money to do it. I don't even know how much they've got. All I know is every week I see them sell something and they've got more money than I can think of. Or do they actually stay within the league and pick up talent that can help them win right now?
Well, Mascherano was saying that they went for Ronaldo, right?
I know
Ronaldo?
that he was shopped for everybody. Did they actually?
I think they tried to get him. He didn't want to come. I don't think it was super intensive. But the follow-up quote to that was, "We need a striker that can put the ball in the back of the net." So I think that is pretty telling of what they're going to go after in this coming transfer. It's probably going to be that 9 position, but like you were saying, is it going to be from outside or is it going to be from inside the league is the big question.
I'm not sold that I don't know if it's going to be a superstar, but I think it's very heavy South American. I think that's where it's going to come from. It's going to come from, maybe a South American player over in Europe that's coming, on the back end of his career. Maybe there's an up and coming guy from South America. I mean, they've hit money on that one. They've done really well. I don't think it's going to be an interleague acquisition, in my opinion. That's not Miami. Miami's like, if we need an interleague acquisition, like maybe it's a backline player or a goalkeeper or something that's got experience. But if it's a big hitter that we need goals from, it's coming internationally. That's the David Beckham mindset and Jorge Mas.
Yeah. I mean, they had that striker they were talking about, and they got rid of him this summer, right? Like Campana was the guy that was built for that position, and they saw what Suarez did last year, and they were like, no, we're good. Little did they know that the iron knees were going to eventually give out.
Iron knees make it sound like a good thing too, though. They're just literally steel beams that don't move. Poor guy, dude. It's hard to watch.
It is hard to watch.
He takes. Have you heard like his routine? He takes a couple shots before the game, and he just is on all like. And you do it for the love of the game, right? But like at some point, it's like the pain's too much to bear, and I love it. Like what these guys do coming in here, I mean, I don't know how much Messi and Suarez think of the league or whatever. Like, is it just for they say it's good, or like, they like what they see and they think there's potential. But for them, Suarez and Messi, Alba, Busquets to come in and just want to play here and help grow the game is phenomenal. But you're right. It's tough to watch a guy that was so good at Liverpool and Barcelona and scored so many goals for different clubs and come in here and, this year just kind of, start well, but then fade,
Yeah. I think it'd be a lot worse if he just suddenly dropped off technically. But it's very clearly that his body is deteriorating on him. And
Yeah.
I saw him live a year and a half ago, and that was hard to watch already.
Yeah.
16 months later, it's gonna get worse and worse. And like you're saying, he's taking these shots. He's only gonna need more shots.
Yep.
Less more time to recover, less game time. It's just gonna slowly diminish.
Yep.
And then, like you were saying, when we have this memory of him growing up just destroying teams, I had nightmares about this guy.
Yeah.
And now you have to see him like this. It's hard to watch. Even if you're not a fan of him, as a fan of the game, it's a super hard thing to watch.
Yep. It's like Ronaldo. Like Ronaldo
Mhm.
carries on, and that's a rough one. Because I remember his days. Obviously Real Madrid and a little bit of Man U when I was growing up, and this guy's phenomenal. I mean, he did what he did at Man U. Then he had to change how he played a little bit at Real Madrid, and it worked. And he scored all these beautiful Champions League goals and won them titles. And it's just like, and he tries to go back to Man U. It's just like, when are you gonna? I get you love the game, but when are you going to call it quits and let's remember you for the great player you were, and not you want to carry on? And I don't know if it's a money thing or if it's just like a pride thing, but there's a good way to go gracefully in sports, and I think he needs to go a little more gracefully instead of, what he's doing now.
Yeah. To your point, it's probably a little bit of both. Like, you think you can still do it at the top level. Your mind's still telling you can do it. Your body is physically telling you can't, but you won't let it go.
Correct.
I guess the name, because you said South American guy over in Europe who apparently isn't in favor, speaking of Ronaldo, but John Duran, I mean, he played in the MLS. There's questions that he might be looking for a loan. I mean, could you get him out of Saudi?
Okay, I could see a loan.
Could you get him out of Saudi on
They
a
couldn't
loan?
buy him. They'd have
No way.
Yeah.
No, but just for the summer, right? Like, if this is a win now move, you can get Duran in for the next 6 months, right? Up until the January transfer window, where either they can reassess if they want him back with the side or over, for a full transfer to someone in Europe.
Yep.
I mean, look, Ronaldo's going to play every minute of every game for Al Nassr. That's the way that's worked. That's why this transfer is apparently not working, is they don't work together.
Makes sense.
So, I mean, that seems like the fit. Talk about natural goal scorer that can win you games just based off of that. For him trying to get into the Colombian side and giving him a 6-month leeway to kind of prove back to European sides that he still got it. It's so weird how just a loan, or that move in general, has kind of changed the perspective on him as a player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he
But-
just took the money. And he hasn't played. It's not like he's played bad. He just hasn't played.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell my buddy Craig that's a big Villa fan. Like, he was like, for PSR purposes, they needed to do it. And I mean, it's a double-edged sword for Craig, because like I asked him a question on one of our shows, like, if you still had Duran, do you think you would have finished higher in the table and made
Probably,
Champions
yeah.
League? And he was like, for sure, but we had to because of PSR purposes. I mean, when someone offers you that much money for that player, I mean,
You have to.
what can you
have
do?
no choice.
You have no choice. And that's an interesting one. I never thought of maybe Duran on loan to Inter Miami, because he's a young guy
Yeah.
who can change games.
I just don't like the move for the player.
Sure.
For the team, it makes sense. For both teams, it makes sense to do that loan move. For him to have these links to Europe's top teams, for a top coach like Unai Emery to say, hey, this is my guy.
Yep.
Obviously, he couldn't hold on to him, like you were saying, with the money that much. It's ridiculous. You got to say yes. But it's not where I thought we'd be heading with his career.
No.
I thought he'd be one of the big names in the 9 position, especially since it's kind of lacking right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not. But yeah, like you were still in lack of minutes, he might need to go prove himself again. I just think he's too good for the MLS.
Yep.
And especially with his frame and just the way he plays, it's going to be easy for him. It's not going to really showcase to the European teams what he can do, in my opinion. But I definitely see the need for him to get his legs underneath him and to get some goals in the back of the net, though.
Yeah. It's 100% a lateral move. Now, for the MLS and for Inter Miami, it'd be the signing of the year. That's immediately what it would become. But
push them into the top 3,
yeah, I mean, that gives you a chance. Like, Messi and Duran sounds like a pretty lethal combo that I could get behind.
Oh, for sure. And then Suarez off the bench, like if he can give you a good 15, I mean, you know, he's always good for a goal, Suarez. Now, however much pain he's in, he's always good for some goal somewhere, whether it's free kick or showing up in the box, getting a rebound, cleaning up the junk, always.
Now, to Mila's point, will that probably happen? Probably not. I doubt that Saudi moves him to the U.S. as their loan opportunity on him if they're trying to make some money back. But that's what I would be doing if I was Inter Miami. That's for sure. Cool. Okay. Let's quickly do who we think is our prediction for winning the whole thing. I know it's early to do it and we're halfway through and it could totally change in a month and a half. But if you had to pick a team from the East and the West that could go on and win the whole thing, who's your team right now?
Want me to start?
Yeah, you can start.
All right. So I'm going to pick from the East, FC Cincinnati. I think Denke's been very good. They have a good, strong back line. I mean, I watched Celentano play at Indiana University. He's a Chicago Sockers kid. He does enough in the MLS game. Is he a national team keeper? Probably should come in for a few camps to see, but he's a solid MLS goalkeeper that makes saves and, he's done well. And they have the goal scorers. Adding Kai Kamara, is an excellent addition. I know he's old, but Kai Kamara still finds ways to score goals. That's a great guy to have off the bench for the last 15, 20 minutes if you need a goal or, you need to increase the lead. So they're my Eastern Conference team. And then I know this is a shocker for you guys, but I'm going to say the Seattle Sounders from the way they've been playing in the FIFA Club World Cup and the tenacity. And they're always a second half team, Seattle. They're a second half MLS season team. But I think they have the tools to surprise people. And with how much parity there is in this league, I think Seattle could possibly win it from the Western Conference.
Interesting. The Seattle one wasn't on my radar, honestly, but they've made moves. I mean, obviously they went MLS heavy in the offseason with Ferreira.
Yep.
But getting Ryan Kent is one of those players where you could change a lot with a player of that type of speed and dynamic play. I think for me, unless they get Morris back, I'm still a little skeptical. I don't know how healthy he's going to be, but he's one of those MLS guys where if you get him in a playoff setting, he just performs. He's just that guy.
I love that Paul Rothrock. My buddy watched him at Georgetown, and he was one of his favorite players. Toronto FC didn't want him. He's a Seattle kid anyways. He played in their academy, and he's lighting up for Seattle. So that when you scout the college game and everyone says this kid can't do it at this level, and when you see Paul Rothrock just banging in some goals left and right and just being tenacious, I love seeing that. So it's interesting addition for how well he's done for Seattle, but. They do have depth. Obed Vargas is good. João Paulo's back healthy. Kent was a great addition. The back line's the question. Stefan Fry has been a little bit of a question for me in the FIFA Club World Cup. There's some saves that I think a younger Stefan Fry would have made. I don't know if Andrew Thomas is that guy to step up in the backup goalkeeper role, but that's the question mark. Stefan Fry and Jackson Reagan. I got to watch him in Michigan. Very tenacious, very good. Has Kim Keehee been the great partner for him? Nuhu's questionable sometimes, but he's great going forward. I mean, Nuhu's a character, but Seattle's an interesting squad, and Brian Schmetzer's a tremendous coach.
Yeah.
People can knock on him, but he's a Seattle man through and through, and that's what I love about that club. It's all about the Seattle local guys, and it's beautiful to see.
Yeah, they're that team that you get them in a playoff setting, and they just happen to run the table. They just happen to run it every time. I mean, they were pretty close to making the finals last year.
They were.
I mean, they really pushed the Galaxy to the edge. Yep. I mean, you're one goal away from being there. So, to your point, they got better, and then they've got a great coach and a great system. They are that second half team that always turns it on. Yep. They haven't been great so far, and they still have 26 points. So,
yeah, I think they're the middle of the table. They aren't. I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I think they're sixth. Yeah.
I mean, that Western Conference is close. You know what I mean? Not many points separate a lot of these sides in the Western Conference.
True. Yeah, 4 points and you're in third. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think from the West, I'm going to stick with Vancouver. Me and Mila have been talking about them all year.
Yeah.
It's that home.
It's just as well.
I think from a home field advantage point of view, just because it's so far and the travel's so fucked up that like if you can stay in first all year for Vancouver along with their team and you get to run the table from home,
Yes.
it really is just a man, going through customs to go play a playoff match. Like
Yeah.
that's a bitch. That's a bitch. Like I can't put it any other way. And then also they just have been really good. Berhalter's continued growth has kind of changed the complexity from them in the midfield and has made them really good.
You know, it's funny.
It's just unproven. That's the question. It's like how
That's
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, they have a 5-back. They have good structure.
Yep.
Like we talked about, they have one of the highest goal differences in the league, goals scored and goals lowest goals conceded. So like they're doing everything right now. And as we know, it could all fall apart in the playoffs. They could do this up until the playoffs and then just shit the bed. But I think the structure is there, and with that, they're vibing right now.
Yep.
It looks hard to beat them, and like you were saying with the home thing, we won the title last year. Our home record was perfect, almost perfect.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing in this league. So yeah, they're my pick as well. On top of that, I'm kind of a big fan of their goalie.
Yeah, he's sick.
Yoshida?
So I wouldn't mind opening.
Yeah,
No,
the Japanese man.
Takaoka.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Yoshida's the center back for Galaxy. Yeah.
But,
He's good.
yeah.
No, he's been good, the goalkeeper. And one thing to note before we move on is like, look, I was lucky enough to see Sebastian Holter play for Crew Academy when his dad was there, and he played against the Michigan Wolves. And I mean, he's a coach's son through and through, like leader on the field, understands situation. And I wasn't high on him when I saw him play. I was like, oh, he's not a bad player. Like, I think he needs a few years of college before he jumps. And, he came off the bench at UNC, played a year, jumps to Crew. His dad's there. Everyone's like, it's because your dad's the coach, right? And didn't get much time in Austin FC, but I credit him that he understood how hard he had to work to find a starting position. And Vancouver was one of the only clubs that was offering him after his rough time at Austin FC. You would have thought Josh Wolf, a friend of Berhalter's, would have played him a little more at Austin FC.
Yeah.
But now he's the national team, and he's not playing poorly in the last 2 matches. I mean, he's got something, and he's done well on set pieces this year for Vancouver. He scored goals in multiple ways. He's been a big part of their CONCACAF Champions Cup run, even though he lost to Cruz Azul in the final. But like, he's been a good one to watch, honestly, and it's been fun to see him develop.
Yeah. Mila, who did you have in the East?
The East, I'm gonna go boring again, and then pick Philly.
That's okay.
Pretty much the same reasons though. I think having structure in this league is huge, and if you can maintain that throughout the season, great. But again, MLS could all fall apart. They do have the league top goal scorer right now, I think he's hurt for like a month. But if you can continue to do that, I think they're good. What was surprising to me looking at the stats today, the East is scoring so many goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like all the top goal scorers are basically from the East, and then sprinkle 1 and 2 in from the West with Brian White and Joveljic. But other than that, like we're lacking over here. We gotta step our shit up.
It's weird, the transition. The Western Conference was always the one that was tough, and then you'd have a few sides. It's just crazy how much has changed, to be honest with you. And listen, when the LA Galaxy and LAFC and Seattle and Portland are kicking, and now San Diego, I mean, it's a tough conference to win when all those teams are doing well and they have the right players,
Yeah, 100%. My East team was the same as yours, Brooks. I have Cincy. I think that it's a knockout style tournament, then they have one of the best goal scorers in the league, and they have one of the best players in Evander. And I don't think that his ability can be understated because he almost pulled that Portland team last year from nothing.
Correct. Yes.
And he did it in the biggest matches. I think that you combine that with, like Mila was saying, the structure idea of Cincinnati and a 5-back. They've got experience all over the place. They have goals. The only question mark is what is they have the same type of thing. But I think Cincinnati right now is further, and
Wait,
This,
was the
Whoa.
mic weird for you, Brooks?
Yeah, the mic was weird for me. Yeah.
Okay. I would just say what you were saying over again, Dill.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's better.
Must have just glitched out. I was just saying that their structure is really good. They've got Yedlin and they've got talent all over the place. Evander is obviously a game changer. And he just does really well. My biggest question mark is, does Inter Miami make a move?
Yep.
You know, because if you can give Messi another goal scoring partner, just anything, they're going to have the best shot of winning. But that run last year really put a bad taste in my mouth. And I just don't know if you have that many games under all those guys' belts, if realistically they can go through a knockout tournament at the end of the year. It's concerning to me.
It's hard. It's a long season. You need legs. If you don't have youth, you've seen teams do well and drop off.
True. Drop off. We always end on really sour, bitter notes on this podcast. So we'll do it again. Rebuilding or fixing the LA Galaxy. Obviously, Ricky Puig is like the answer to everything. That's at least what people think. I think that the issues lie a little deeper. I think there's still more that can be done. We talk about it every week. So, Brooks, I kind of want to hear your perspective on somebody who's just outside of the scope of LA Galaxy in terms of what you think the Galaxy can do to become a better team. Maybe how aggressive they should be this summer. And then just what's the next step? Where is success this year for this Galaxy side?
Sure. So I made some notes, so I'll read from it. So I kind of just looked at the older players they have and just when do their contracts expire? You know, how long do Zavaleta, he was a warrior for Vanny at TFC, he's 32 and he's not playing a whole lot, honestly. And when he does, it's probably so. I mean, his contract's done this December 31st, 2025. Yoshida's 36. They gave him, a couple, 2026 of December 31 is when he's done. So it's 32, 36 right there. Fagundes is, for as long as he feels like he's been in the league forever. I thought he was older than 30 years old. And, he's done, his contract expires 31st December 2025. And, Miki Yamani, the outside back, the right back, his contract expires in 2026, December 31st. So, you have a lot of old players, but you have a lot of bright spots with the winger position and Painstill and the other winger. And, but they lack, like Ramirez is old. I don't know if necessarily the San Diego kid, who's the backup striker for them, the kid that played at San Diego, Miguel Berry.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I don't know if, Miguel Berry did well in USL Championship. He had some moments in Columbus in that system. I just don't know if he's the guy. Ramirez is the end of his career. So, you have good players to build around Ricky Puig and Marco Reus. Now, Marco Reus always came in intended, I wasn't going to play 90 minutes. I was going to, maybe play 60 here, come off the bench. And you put players around them, though, and they have like Elijah Winder's a good young guy to come in and play. I watched John Nelson at UNC a little bit. I like John Nelson. Is McCarthy the goalkeeper? I don't know. I'm not he's done well. Do you need another goalkeeper? Maybe. But I think if you add some players in there and if you make a few small moves and then set yourself up for when some of these contracts expire to then bring in someone in the winter transfer window or in the off season, you can turn the team around because you have a healthy Ricky Puig who will, can pretty much say, probably besides Messi, is probably the second or at least third best midfielder in the MLS, I'd say. So I take it from a brighter side. Not all hope is lost for you guys. It's going to be a rough year. Play your young players. That's what I would do. Play your young players, give them experience, and let's see how close they can dig themselves out of the hole and get to that playoff line, or maybe above it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I had a rant about 3 weeks ago where I was just essentially saying the season's over. Mm-hmm. I still feel that way. Sure. Because I thought that if they had a chance to go on a run, it was during the stretch right now. They got their first win, and then it was the St. Louis game where it's like, you got to pick up 3 points. Like, they're also struggling. And if you can start to stack, that's when you can really see progression. Yep. And they had a chance to do it, and it was They had the 3-2 lead in the 87th, and they have this ability to. I think we've coined it or we've been saying it's snatching defeat from the jaws of death or something like that. And that's just what it is. That's what this team has become. Is just this.
Yeah.
They fold over on top of itself. Like every time there's a bright spot, something good, it just feels like it's going
I,
back.
I, did, I don't know. I didn't get to watch the full game, the last one, but it just seemed like Klaus, every time he got the ball, just would rifle one in. And, like, we couldn't stop that. So I think part of it is the reactions of our center back pairing. Like Brooks was saying and noting, they're old.
Yep.
Zanka and Yoshida are old. And even if they're smart, their bodies don't react like they need to. I think the first goal was kind of just a little mix-up in positional awareness between Zanka and Yoshida. You could see Yoshida trying to recover for it, but he's not fast enough anymore. He can't do that. And Zanka's can't adjust. He's not agile enough anymore. And then the other two, it's just a 1-2 touch from now I'm blanking on his name. I just said it. On Klaus. And he gets his hat trick. Mikovic did great before the goals. He kept us in the match with a couple, I think, 2 1-on-1 saves. But it's not enough defensively. So we're definitely going to need to rotate that defense in the coming years. It's nice that a lot of these guys are out of that contract.
Yep.
But also, they kind of were the heart of our team last year. Yamane and Yoshida were big parts of that.
They were.
So I definitely think we're going to have to get rid of them. We all know that, but I'm skeptical on if we make the right decisions and bring in the right guys back there.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, look, Garces is one of the biggest question marks he's talented, and he's super quick. Look, we don't win a championship. We don't have Garces last season.
Yep.
I know, but
that's the level that he can reach. It's about getting him there consistently. And if, like, to your point, if he can't do it with Yoshida, who's as experience comes next to him, like that's not good. And he's lost the trust of a manager that literally for the back half of the year benched Jalen Neal, who's been consistently pretty good in terms of a U.S. talent, especially at center back.
How upset are you guys that they traded him to Montreal?
That's
a guy that could have stepped in and played because he's young.
Yeah.
It hurts.
I thought we were going to replace him in some way.
Sure.
And when we brought in Zanka, I thought that was the end of Yoshida. To have both of them was kind of confusing. So we kind of gave up Neal. In a way, we gave up Neal for Zanka. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It hurt pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. It hurt me pretty bad, and it continues to look worse and worse every game that passes. Just because he was an LA kid. He's a Galaxy kid at heart. His mom.
Did you think he had it though?
I did. I genuinely thought
I wasn't convinced last season at all.
I just don't think that the pairing. That's the thing with having Yoshida. You have to have just these crazy physical traits. That's why Garces has worked next to him, because if Yoshida gets burned, Garces is the fastest player in the league. He just makes up the ground.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We never saw
pace is huge. Yeah.
Because Neal got hurt, we never saw Neal and Garces together, at least for a stretch of games, which made that's the thing that upset me the most, is because in terms of a pairing, I think attribute wise, they both have something. Like Neal's got leadership and he's got the physical profile. He may not be the quickest, but in terms of just his general IQ, I think he's up there, and his ball playing ability is good. Garces has the South American kind of shithousery to him, and there could have been something there, but also it's super young.
I don't think he can play a full 90 is the thing. Like, he could be our center back of the future, but at the moment, we talked about it a while ago, Dylan. He cannot play a full 90 without making a grave error.
Yeah, it's rough.
Minor errors, minor mistakes, sure. Like I've said, everyone has them. It's part of the sport, but his are glaring errors that lead to goals or possible penalties. Like, he's honestly, he got away with some stuff this year too. His CV could look really bad this year.
Yeah.
So, question for you guys: would you take the Chicago Fire back line from last year, who have made horrendous errors, or would you rather have your LA Galaxy line? I mean they had some really bad errors last year. You know what I mean? Like, I still think your back line's better than theirs.
It's
I'll take
definitely
ours
better.
right now.
It's
Yeah.
definitely better.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, like, it was the back line ever really that weak, or was our offense just so above and beyond?
Your mic's cutting out again.
Yeah,
Balls. I hate when that happens. I don't know
There
why
you
it's doing it.
Now you're
Today
back.
it's
you're good.
it's not having me. I apologize. I was saying, was our offense just so above average, like so incredibly good last year that it just made up for all the defensive
That's
faults?
kind of what I was going to say.
Sure.
In the opposite way, though, is that our offense was so bad to start this year that I think it just made our defense look so much worse than it is.
That's fair.
Hey,
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago Fire right there. Last couple years until Berhalter came in. I mean, that's kind of been. I mean, the guys that Berhalter added for the Fire have been great in the final third for the front three. But when everything just goes bad, I mean, it rains, it pours. And that's the unfortunate part. It's like, when does the bleeding stop? And I'm sure you guys are at that point. Is of like, we're not that bad. Like, maybe we're not like the bottom of the Western Conference. But like, we should be at least at that playoff line. Like, I'm sure that's how you guys feel. Is like, at least the playoff line. You know what I'm saying? Is probably what their Galaxy should be.
Yeah.
On paper, yeah. As of lately, I can agree with that. The start of the season was
abysmal.
I wanted to distance myself. There were a couple times where we had to just text and be like, "Yo, we're not recording today. It's not going to go well." But yeah, like, they should be better. They definitely should be better, and it'll be interesting. I don't think I can even predict how we're gonna turn this around or recover because, as you noted, with all the people that are kind of on the end of their contracts, there's a lot. Like, the whole structure of this team is gonna have a facelift basically. So we're gonna need to see if there's a new style of play, a new just overall feel of the squad. We're getting rid of a lot of big names, big personalities in the team, not just technical ability, but personalities that make our team what it is. So there'll be growing pains. Hopefully they lead to some success, but it'll definitely be interesting.
I'll predict for you guys that Harbor Miller, your up and coming academy guy, will probably make an appearance at some point. And I'm going to say Owen Pratt in goal, like, will make an appearance at some point. I feel like if the goalkeeper situation's not, if you got nothing to play your young guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least Harbor Miller, maybe not Pratt. I mean, it's hard. Goalkeepers usually need time, but I think Harbor Miller will make an appearance at some point.
He played early in the season because of the Yamane and Cuevas injuries, and he was phenomenal. He's very talented. He's very talented.
He had like 2 appearances, right? I think the first one was
You're right.
The second one was a little underwhelming, but to be expected from a young kid.
Yeah, he's got talent. I mean, that's the one position where I think, funny enough, we actually have like the most depth in the team. Like Cuevas, Yamane, and then Harbor Miller is really good. I think Yamane does get moved off at some point. But Cuevas and Harbor Miller being the 2 right backs. I mean, that's if the LA Galaxy are anything, it's right back FC. That's just what we do. That's just what we our bread and butter is just make a right back. You need it, we got it. Like
Julian Araujo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barca Academy kid. Yeah, played Barca and then came over. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm hoping that he breaks through at some point too. He's been the one like test case. Yeah, because he's at Bournemouth right now.
He's kind of broken through already. To be
he started
from MLS. Yeah, he's started a couple matches for Bournemouth.
He was
looked good in some of them. Yeah, he did get injured, but he's definitely got the talent to play there. He's a Mexican kid in the Premier League though, and there's not a lot of opportunities for just people from the Americas. So he's gonna work. He's gonna have to work for it. But I do think he can break into that Bournemouth team, especially the way that they're improving
leaving too. So he'll have opportunities. That's definitely one to watch for the rest of the year. But cool. Brooks, did you want to bring up any other topics, or are you good to kind of wrap it up? What are you feeling?
Do you want me to bring the guys, interleague guys? You think that maybe if you guys?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I think if you go interleague, you go domestic. You save your international spots for these guys their contracts are done in 2025. I think you saved the international spots. Duncan McGuire isn't playing much at Orlando City. He's a proven goal scorer from MLS. That's a heavy South American influence team, Orlando City. I think what the heck? Like, he tried to get over to Europe. That debacle happened, and why not try? Like, if Ramirez isn't giving anything, nor Miguel Berry, like, why not try to, bring in a proven goal scorer like Duncan McGuire? And then for me, Henry Kessler's been playing at St. Louis City, but they do have depth at center back. I mean, do you try to bring in, like you said, you need that athletic guy that's gritty? Like, Kessler may be that guy. I mean, he's an asshole, like playing at like a good asshole, like playing at UVA. Like, he get in, get stuck in, like, no one's better than me. I mean, you saw it when he was at the Revs. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not that guy that's gonna like tear apart the locker room, if that's what
that's true.
So
that
those
feels
are
like
my
a Greg
three guys.
Vandy guy too. Like, out of all the people that are mentioned, like Duncan McGuire too. That's a really interesting one. Obviously,
I wouldn't mind that, but we do have a loanee right now who's been starting.
Yes.
not Samantha. Yeah.
We've kind of fallen in love with him over here
Yeah.
just because he's playing like his 2-minute highlight reel that we saw, but we actually get to see it now.
That's good.
So yeah, it's great. I don't know if we're gonna keep him though. I do think there's opportunities for him, especially to not stay with us.
Yep.
And actually, when you were talking about Inter Miami picking up a South American striker, I was kind of thinking he'd be great. MLS proven already, getting some minutes, and just Inter Miami might take a liking to him.
Yeah, that would get the Galaxy out of that kind of obligation if they were looking to get out from underneath it. Now that
Oh,
you're
we
saying,
have an obligation to buy?
no. Sorry, the obligation to have him for the rest of the year. I think the contract runs out in December. Would be my guess, but he's talented. Kid's got boatloads of talent, but I kind of like the idea of just getting, like you said, a proven goal scorer. Duncan McGuire he's been that MLS striker that we've been waiting, especially US wise, to get that breakthrough, go to Europe, but it just hasn't panned out. And then Orlando brought in Muriel and kind of just stunted his development because I thought they probably thought he was gone too.
Yep.
And now they've just handcuffed themselves in this weird pigeonhole of like, what do we do? We have two strikers that need to be starting. We're paying one of them a ton of money. They're paying both of them a ton of money.
Yeah.
So that could be the way out. I mean, Will Kuntz loves a young striker, right? That's.
I mean, in Orlando, you got this kid named Justin Ellis coming up the pipeline. I'm not sure if they're going to sign him or not. He's been in with the youth national team. So, I mean, if you're Duncan McGuire and you're his agent, you're like, I mean, let's make this move, like, makes sense, like on loan or whatever. Or I don't know if the Orlando would loan, or like you said, interleague money, we can swap money and whatnot. And, see if you make a run with it. Right. And then, I mean, the Kessler one, I don't know if St. Louis City would give him up just because they got him from the Revs. They did an exchange for that one, and he's been starting for him. But the McGuire one's an interesting one, but I don't know if Kuntz wants to do that or not. But going domestic makes sense. Don't use your international spots. Save them.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
100%. Cool. Well, I've got nothing more to say. This was a good roundup for me. If you want to say anything else, I'm cool with it here. If not, I want you to you can plug all your guys' socials, all your stuff, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah. So you asked the one question about the League Cup importance. I just said, just to finish off your question, I think it's important for LA Galaxy to try to go all out. I mean, you've got nothing to lose. You're already in the bottom. Like, why not go for it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Give your fans something to be happy about and to look forward, whether it's your young players like a Harbor Miller playing and Owen Pratt playing in those games and doing well, and your other academy kids, like, just go for it. You have nothing to lose. So that's the last I finish.
No, that's a good point.
Yep. And then for We Are Soccer, so we have our YouTube page, on We Are Soccer. We're on Facebook. We have a private Facebook group. We also have a We Are Soccer Network page. We post all our stuff too. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X. We do a Substack, so once a week, Craig or I will write. We just do like a new weekly news roundup. I wrote one on the goalkeeper pool that was called in for the men's national team. I was going to write on the other positions. It's just there were so many. To write all 60 players is a lot with the time I have. So, yeah, so our Substack is awesome. That's once a week. It's usually on a Thursday or Friday, maybe sometimes a Wednesday. We'll put it out there. But we'll write some stuff about worldly news going around. We'll put our interviews we've done. We recently interviewed Alexi Lalas. We'll put our podcast link on Apple Podcasts on there too. So yeah, you can check it out. Craig's written some cool stuff about being a Villa fan and growing up a Villa fan and what his club means to him. So, and if you guys want to write for the Substack, you guys have some stuff to write about, you're more than welcome to guest write for us. We're always looking for writers. So goes out to 34,000 emails and a couple hundred subscribers so far we have. So you're more than welcome to guest write if you guys would like to.
That'd be great.
Definitely,
I mean, yeah. I know that usually we have our featured guest is Andrew, who does his own writing and stuff, and that could be potentially a great partnership for him to expand his viewership as well. So heck yeah, it's great.
Perfect.
Cool. Well, I'm good to end it. Brooks, you good to end it? Mila?
Yep.
Hell yeah. Yep.
Cool. Alrighty. Well then, from the Clash of Cosmos crew, this has been episode 16. Brooks, thank you for coming on and sharing all of your insights. But we will see you guys in the next one.
LA, Highland champions. They're going to go alone. Still back. What a goal. It's 6. They just cannot stop scoring. The volley from Votto. Yes. San Jose carved open with a world-class pass from Ricky Pooch. Glittering Galaxy and Landon Donovan is the match winner.